everyone. We are from Group 9 and we are going to discuss several topics regarding discourse analysis. So, before we start, we want to introduce ourselves. So, my name is Dewi Rahayu as a leader of the group, and my friend, I'm Dewi Kartika.
And I'm Muhammad Arham.
And Arini Wayasaruni and my online friend.
Good day everyone, my name is Farah Mesarah S.
So, without any further ado, let's start the discussion. So guys, let's talk about the question number 1. So, what is the difference between discourse and discourse analysis? So, from Arini, what do you think about it?
Okay, discourse refers to the approach commonly used in exam language in the use of social context. Discourse analysis and discourse are actually two different contexts. Discourse analysis is the science that discuss how and why language is used effectively. Meanwhile, discourse is a way of using language in accordance with the context of everyday life.
So, discourse is actually how language is used in everyday life, and then discourse analysis is a study to examine how and why language is used in particular context. Okay, so thank you, Arini. We move to Muhammad Arham. What do you think?
I think the difference of discourse and discourse analysis is discourse, it simply means discussion or communicate with each other. And discourse analysis is the study of discourse, such processes by looking at what and how people communicate.
Okay, thank you. Maybe we can move to Dewi Sartika.
Okay, discourse. The word of discourse is derived from Latin discourses, which means conversation, speech. So, discourse, when brought into applied linguistics, is the most complete language unit, higher than clauses and sentences, has good cohesion and coherence, and can be conveyed both spoken and written. And actually, discourse is the type of language used in communication, while discourse analysis is defined as a study that examines the function of language as a means of communication. In other words, discourse analysis is a way or method of studying discourse that exists in communicating message, both spoken and written.
Okay, so discourse is actually the process of conversation, like the process of communication, while discourse analysis is the study that focuses on analyzing how language is used in a particular context. So yeah guys, thank you for your answer. So I will explain what I know about the difference between discourse and discourse analysis. So, before we go further, I think we need to know about the definition first. So, let's talk about discourse. What is discourse? So, in Cambridge Dictionary, discourse is defined as a form of communication, both spoken or written. According to expert, one of them is Cook. According to Cook, discourse is actually a type of language that we use to communicate. And according to Carlson, discourse is actually an expansion of unlimited utterance. So from this definition, we might simplify that discourse is actually a process of communication or a language that we use to communicate in particular context. It can be in the form of spoken or written. So, for example, in spoken form, like we are doing discussion right now. So this is a discourse. When someone goes to the traditional market and doing a discussion or doing a conversation or interaction, it is a discourse. So whenever it is while conversation is conducted or where interaction is happen, it is a discourse. And then what is the kind or the form of discourse in a written? So of course we might say that like book, comics, novels, and etc. So discourse is actually a place or a condition. It can be also defined as a communication process or the kind of language that we use in a particular context. And then we move to the definition of discourse analysis. So according to Schifrin, discourse analysis is actually a study that is intended to examine how language is used by a community, by a particular community. So discourse analysis tries to find the form of language and also the function of language itself. And then it is trying to analyze what is the difference between language that is used in one context and in another context. So the result of information from discourse analysis will be highly beneficial for us to understand how language is used, and then we can actually use it to communicate effectively. And then the simpler definition is coming from McCarthy. She said that discourse analysis is actually a study that is trying to find out the correlation between language and where the language is used in the context. So yeah, from the definition between discourse and discourse analysis, we might simplify that discourse is actually like an object of discourse analysis. So discourse is a condition or a process of communication in a particular context, and discourse analysis trying to find out the information about how language is used in a particular discourse, how is the characteristics, something like that. So if you want to know about the more difference between discourse and discourse analysis, you might actually read on the paper. The definition is like broken into several components such as linguistic process, linguistic quality, and linguistic product. So in discourse, what is linguistic process? So linguistic process can be defined as communication, behavior, or like unlimited conversation or unlimited utterance. And then what is the product? The products, of course, like spoken language or written language. And then the quality is measured from how language is actually structured grammatically. And then when we talk about discourse analysis, it also broken into several components, not only 3 but 4. They add what we call as linguistic analysis. So linguistic analysis is actually a process of analysis or determine or recognize. And then what is the linguistic process? What is the linguistic process in discourse analysis? So linguistic process in discourse analysis is actually the language in use. And then what is the product? The product is like conversation, like spoken interaction, something like that, or written text, something like that. And when we talk about the quality, the linguistic quality, it will be related to the meaningful language. So it is not only related to the grammatical form, but it is also related to the meaning. So yeah, I think that's all the difference that we might conclude, or we can like summarize between discourse and discourse analysis. So discourse is actually an object of the study of discourse analysis. What do you think, Farah? What is your answer for the question?
Discourse is everything that we talk or write, like conversation, speech, and discussion. Discourse analysis explains or analyzes the words or sentences that we speak or write by involving linguistics.
So guys, let's move to the question number 2. What the student should do in learning discourse analysis? Maybe we can hear the opinion from Devi Sakrika first.
Okay, in studying discourse analysis, first thing first, students have to learn about theory. And theory make students more understand about discourse analysis. And then after learn about theory, student can do a practice. Di mana students are able to analyze the use of language, such as form and function, and how they relate to each other.
How they are related to each other.
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, so in learning discourse analysis, we actually have to do two things, right? The first is learning about the theory, and then the second is doing a practice. Like we analyze a particular discourse, something like that, to understand how language is used, and what is the last? How language is used, and yes, how they are related to each other. Okay, yeah. So thank you. Maybe Arham, you might give your opinion about it.
What should students do? In my opinion, students must carry out an analysis of language use to be able to find out the form and function of language, what they do in language, and how they related to one another to form meaning in language. That's
Okay. Also, you are focusing on doing analyzing in a particular context where language is used. So we might understand about the language form, the language function, something like that. Okay, it's clear enough. Thank you. Maybe we can move to Arini.
Okay, my opinion too. What students have to do is to able to analyze the discourse, structure, classification, and ideas contained in a language. This ability is needed to those who study discourse analysis, because discourse analysis encourage students to always think critical about language.
Okay. So yeah, that's all your questions. So I will give my opinion about it. So in my opinion, I agree with you guys. So at least you have to do two things in learning discourse analysis. The first is learning the theory such as like the definition of discourse analysis, the genesis, the significance, how it is related to English language teaching, and etc. And then we have to do an analysis in particular discourse, like what you said before. So we might understand how language form and also the function in a particular context, and we can actually implement it in our real life, in our real communication, to build an effective communication. So yeah, in my opinion, I will add several reasons why we have to do these things. The first is, of course, we might enrich our knowledge, our understanding. As an English education department students, or generally as a student, it is really important to pour ourselves with a lot of knowledge, especially discourse analysis, which is highly related to English language teaching itself, and the study of language is linguistic. And then the second is, I agree with Arini that saying when we're doing discourse analysis or when we're doing analysis in a particular discourse, we can actually improve our critical thinking, because we will learn about theory, we will learn about how to implement it, how to organize it in order to doing a project related to analysis in a particular discourse. And then the third is what I said before, when we learn about theory, when we learn about how to do something, we can actually implement it in our real life. So when we understand about the function and also the form of language, we can actually communicate effectively. So when we can communicate effectively, we can actually build a good relation with the interlocutors. It is the most important thing that we want to achieve in a communication, right? Build a good communication with our partner in speaking or in communicate. And then the last is, yes, as an English education department students, it is actually highly important to learn about discourse analysis theory, because we might know about the relation or the benefits of discourse analysis itself in English language teaching. So it might actually give us motivation about how we will teach the students in the future, because we know that teaching language is not just about function, it's not just about form, but it's also about function. So we will actually focusing on these two things. What do you think, Farah? What is your answer for the question?
Number 2. Students have to know and understand the concept or definition of discourse analysis. From that, they will know what should they do, like analyze language based on context and through linguistics. How to know the meaning and culture in each word, because in my opinion, something is started from concept in order to what they will learn is more purposeful.
So yeah, let's move to the question number 3. In your opinion, what the students are expected to do in learning discourse analysis? Maybe the first answer will be delivered by Farah Maisara. Please.
Number 3. There are several things that students are able to do in discourse analysis. The first is unite several themes that found in written or oral terms. The second is try to understand the structures and texture deeply. After that, they interpret the meaning from their understanding. The third is categorize discourse based on its habits. The fourth is find out relatedness between sender and recipients of the message in communication.
So yeah, the second answer will be delivered by Muhammad Arham.
Okay, my answer is there are 4 things. The first is to examine thematic links in written text or in spoken interaction. The second is to analyze structure such as form and function. And the third is to discuss whether the discourse can be classified as belonging to a particular register or genre. The last is to analyze the discourse in relation to assumption about the relationship between speakers and writer and recipients of message.
So yeah, that's your answer. So there are 4 things that students are expected to do in learning discourse analysis. What do you think? How about you?
So, what student hope is to realize that discourse analysis can be applied in everyday life and very helpful in enrich student language information.
So the students actually should realize that the importance of discourse analysis,
Yes.
and then they can implement it in their real life. So that's what the students are expected to do in learning discourse analysis. Okay, thank you for your simple question. Maybe we can move to Ms. Atika.
Actually, Ham's answer is not really different
With yours?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So there are 4 things. The first is to examine thematic links, to analyze structure, to discuss whether discourse can be classified formal or informality, and the last one is to analyze the discourse in relation to assumptions about the relationship between speaker and writer, and the recipient of message. Sorry.
Okay, so yeah, I do agree with you guys that what we are expected to do is actually like we understand about how language is used in particular context. So that's actually the simple things. But we might like make it in several points, such as what have been said had been mentioned by Arham and Devi, that we are actually expected to do 4 things. The first is that examine the thematic roles, and then the second is we find out, we understand, or we determine the language function and also the language form that is used in a particular context. So language forms such as maybe comparison, tenses, or direct and indirect speech, and then function is related sometimes like what we say when we want to over something, what we say when we want to do apologize, something like that.
Say thanks.
Yeah, say thanks is when we want to compliment someone too. And then the third thing is that by learning discourse analysis, we are actually expected to understand the classification of the language. For example, the formality and informality of the language. When I said I do apologize, it comes to the formal form of language. And when I say thanks a bunch, or I'm sorry, something like that, it comes to the informal form of language. So by learning discourse analysis, we're regularly expected to classifying those 2 things or the other things. And then the last thing is that we are expected to understand the relation between interlocutors by identifying what kind of language that they use in their communication. For example, when we talk with our lecturer, we might say, excuse me sir, when would you be available? Something like that. But when we talk about our friends, we might say that I want you to be here right now. Something like that. So by learning discourse analysis, we can actually determine the relationship between the interlocutors, whether they are a family, they are a friend,
Lecturer.
yeah, they are a lecturer and the students, or the others. So yeah, these 4 things are actually what we are expected to understand or to do in learning discourse analysis. So yeah, we move to the 4th question in this discussion. So this is actually really familiar for us. So what do you think about the definition of language? I mean teaching. What is the definition of teaching? What is the definition of teaching method? And what is the definition of English language teaching? So maybe the first question will be delivered, and the first answer will be delivered by Muhammad Atta, please.
Okay, the first is teaching. Teaching we define generally. Teaching is an activity transmission of knowledge from one person to another that guide to discover so much greatest potential. In teaching, there are 3 things that we do in teaching. There are pre-teaching, while teaching, and post-teaching. Pre-teaching is preparation, while teaching execute the
execution
execution
process,
or the process to transfer the knowledge. Post teaching is apa sih?
evaluation.
Is evaluation or make a conclusion of what we teach.
What we have done
What we have done in classroom. We move to the teaching method. The teaching method is a way of teaching a subject which is based on systematic principle and procedure. Okay. The last point, English language teaching. ELT is the process of teaching English specifically to the learners whose native language is not English. Okay,
So,
that's my answer.
that's all your answer. Thank you. So maybe the second answer will be delivered by Arini.
According to what I read and I know, teaching is the sharing of knowledge and shared experience, which are usually organized in specific discipline and more generally the provision of stimuli for the physical and intellectual growth of the person.
Okay.
While teaching methods are the principle used by teachers to optimize teaching material, student ability and themselves to achieve learning goals effectively and the last English teaching is an activity and industry teaching English to non-native speaker.
So from your explanation, so we might say that teaching is actually a process of transferring knowledge and experience in order to improve students' intellectual, something like that. And then teaching method is actually a systematic activities that the teacher will and the students will do in the classroom in order to achieve the goals. And then teaching English language teaching is actually a process of teaching English for the non-native speaker. Okay, so thank you for your answer. We may move to Dewi.
Based on paper have I read, there are three components in teaching. The first is pre-teaching, and the second while teaching, and the last one is post-teaching. So pre-teaching, teachers make planning for these things, planning for what to teach, include teaching materials, and planning for how to teach, include teaching methods. And the second, while teaching. In while teaching, teachers is to impart knowledge or skills to the learners through explicit instruction by referring to items in the lesson plan such as time allotment, teaching activity, or teaching methodology. And the last one is post-teaching. Teachers do evaluate to lessons whether lesson effectively or not. And teaching methods is the technique used teacher for teach effectively to see situation analysis include style learning and preference. And English language teaching is the process of delivering knowledge and skill of English to a group of students whose first language is not English by going through three main stages, namely pre-teaching, while teaching, and post-teaching. So that's all.
Okay, so thank you. So in my opinion, what is the definition of teaching? teaching method, and then English simple teaching. So first, let's talk about teaching. So according to experts, namely Gage, teaching is actually a process of changing someone's behavior. So behavior is actually related to someone's knowledge and actually a process of improving their potency. So this is actually similar with what I said before, like we want to improve someone's intelligence, right? And then the second definition is coming from Amidon. So teaching is actually a process, interaction in the class through meaningful activities. So the activities is actually intended to achieve several goals. But I think it is not enough if we just define teaching from this definition. I think we have to look deeper and broader, like what the Dewi Sartika said, and then Iris also, and you guys said that teaching is consisted by three components, namely pre-teaching, while teaching, and post-teaching, or sometimes the other name is preparation, execution, and evaluation. So let's talk about pre-teaching. So in pre-teaching, as what Dewi Sartika said before, that in pre-teaching the teacher decides what to teach and how to teach. So in designing what to teach, according to several experts such as Brown, Richard, Tomlinson, and Kaharudin, in while teaching and deciding what to teach, we actually need to consider several things. The first is doing need analysis. So by doing need analysis, we can actually know what contents that should be taught in the classroom. And then the second is we will formulate the goals and also the objectives, such as what the students will achieve in the classroom after learning, after the learning process. And then the third is the teacher will arranging the teaching materials and also the sequence of teaching materials from the most important one, and then the last is that the teacher will start to arrange their syllabus, start to design their syllabus and also lesson plan. So in deciding how to teach, the teacher actually needs to consider students' learning styles and students' learning preference, such as maybe they are prefer to learn through visual, or they love to learn through like discussion, audio, something like that. So the teacher should consider students' learning style and also preference to know how to teach. And then the second is while to teach. So in while teaching process, the teacher is actually need to consider several things such as the time allotment, the teaching materials, the teaching activities, and the extra classwork such as tasks or project that the students should do in the classroom. So this actually, these components wrapped in something that we call as teacher's method. So teacher's method is divided into three kinds. The first is teacher-centered method, and then the second is active method, and the third is student-centered method. So in teacher-centered method, one of the activities that is usually done is like speech. The teacher will explain in front of the classroom and then give the students question, and then the student will answer. In active activities, maybe the students will play a game, like playing a role, something like that. And then in student-centered method, the students will actually doing a self-learning or doing a project, something like that. And then we talk about the post-teaching. So in post-teaching, this is actually a process of evaluating the process of teaching. So the teacher will measure how well or in what level the students can actually understand or actually achieve the learning goals. And then the teacher will also try to find out is the teaching and learning activities effective, and then they also will try to find out what should be what should be fixed and what should be improved in teaching and learning process. So yeah, that's all about teaching. So this consists by three main phases, namely pre-teaching, while teaching, and post-teaching. And then we talked about teaching method. So teaching method, simply we might say, it is actually a systematic ways about how to do the teaching and learning process in the classroom in order to achieve the learning goals effectively. So in teaching method, we can actually classify it into three kinds. The first is what is that? Cognitive development method. The second is affective development method, and then the last is psychomotoric development method. So in cognitive development method, in this method, the teacher actually will improve students' intelligence, like their critical thinking, their ability to analyze, to creating something. So the teacher wants to improve students' intellectual in using the cognitive development method, such as maybe what is that, discussion, something like that. And then the second is affective development method. So in affective development method, the teacher actually wants to improve students' behavior, students' attitudes, like their value. So the students maybe will doing learning, like learning through games in order to improve their interest in teaching, or to improve their motivation in teaching. And then the last is related to psychomotoric development method. So this is actually related to the improvement of skill. Sometimes like the teacher will ask the students to do like a communication or doing a project in order to improve their skills in particular things. So yeah, that's all about teaching method. And then the last, English language teaching. So I do agree with your statement that English language teaching, we can simply say that English language teaching is actually a process of teaching language through three main stages, namely pre-teaching, while teaching, and post-teaching for the learners who their mother tongue is not English, such as us, we are Indonesian students, so we learn about English language. So the process is what we call as English language teaching. So yeah, maybe the last answer will be delivered by Sarah.
Number 4. Teaching is an activity of delivering material to students in order to students can master and develop material. Teaching method is how to teach students in order to learning objectives can be achieved. Or make plans about what to teach and how to teach. English language teaching is an activity to teach students who are not from an English-speaking country.
Finally, we come to the last question in this discussion. It is the relationship. What is the relationship between English language teaching and discourse analysis? So, the first answer will be delivered by Arini Mayasari. Please.
Okay, my answer is the purpose of English language teaching has the same things as discourse analysis, which is to provide information about how sentences are formed and used in everyday life.
Okay. So, so you think that discourse analysis and English language teaching actually have the same purpose, such as to analyze how, to know or to understand how language is formed and also the function in a real life context.
Yes.
So thank you. Maybe we can move to Dewi Satika.
So my answer is discourse analysis study the function of language to be used in accordance with the context in real life, while English language teaching focus more on grammatical structure rather than function. So discourse analysis can improve English language teaching in the hope that students will produce natural language that is easy understood.
Okay. So you think that lately the teacher just focus on teaching about the grammar, and then it means that the students cannot use the language naturally in the real context. So discourse analysis is actually coming as a solution for that, so the teacher can actually teach about the function of language, so the students can actually use both of their knowledge, such as language function and language form, to communicate effectively. So yes, thank you for your clear explanation. Yes, the next answer is coming from you. Please.
In my opinion, discourse analysis and English language teaching cannot be separated. This is clearly seen from the indication that discourse analysis means language, and English language teaching is language teaching where discourse analysis is present to analyze the use and structures of language properly and correctly to communicate with each other. Therefore, an English learner is required to have knowledge of discourse analysis.
Okay, so thank you for your answer. So I will give my opinion regarding this question. So yeah, I do agree with you guys that discourse analysis and English language teaching cannot be separated. They're actually highly correlate to each other. So we can actually see the correlation in two things. The first is, the purpose of English language teaching is enable the students to communicate effectively in real context, or what we call as communicative competence. So in gaining communicative competence, the student should have appropriate or adequate understanding about language form and language function. So yeah, to learn about language function, to understand about language function, of course, the student, they should, it will be related to discourse analysis. So that's why the teacher should actually learn about discourse analysis, so they will understand about how language is used in particular context, and they will bring the knowledge into the classroom and give the knowledge to the students, so the students will actually understand not only about the form of language, but also how the language is used in a natural context. So it is highly important for the teacher to understand about discourse analysis. In addition, by understanding discourse analysis, the teacher can actually give motivations or inspirations about how to teach in the classroom, because by understanding the theory of discourse analysis, the teacher will understand that they actually need to balance between the language form and language function. They can actually arrange their syllabus that is related not only to language form but also language function, and as well as in designing the learning activities and also in preparing the teaching materials. So discourse analysis will be highly beneficial for this teacher to preparing their teaching components. So yeah, finally we know that teaching teaching language and discourse analysis cannot be separated, because discourse analysis is the part of language, and discourse analysis will not exist without language itself. And then English language teaching will not complete if we don't relate it with discourse analysis, because language is not just about function, about form. Language is about how we use it in a real context, how we use it in interaction to build a good communication with the interlocutors. It's related to how the native speaker interacts based on their culture and also their behavior. So yeah, it's highly important to understand about discourse analysis in teaching English language. So the last answer will be delivered by Farah Maisa.
Number 5. We know that discourse analysis is how to analyze language based on its form and function. Discourse analysis will analyze English in language teaching. It will help more English language speaking. As the result of analyzing English, we will know how English should be taught. So there's no confusion or missing parts in English language teaching.
So guys, that's all about our discussion today. Thank you for your attention. So yeah, hopefully you will get beneficial understanding, and then you might enrich your knowledge and also implement it in your real life. So yeah, thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay healthy,
Stay healthy.
everyone.
Watching.